First thing that I'm going to do is create a sketch. Take your time while you create the sketch. It is an important step. Now the way I am doing this is basically I am creating the two midlines of the face. The horizontal midline crosses the eyebrows while the vertical midline crosses the forehead and connects to the chin. And then I will look for landmarks. Landmarks are basically shapes that can help you guide in your drawings. And the first landmark that I see is the hair. The shape of that hair above the forehead gives me a good landmark to place the eyes and also create the jaws. The shadow below the nose gives me a landmark that I can use to draw the mouth and the chin. Now, I wouldn't be looking for landmarks if I was trying to stylize this. Well, I am going to stylize this a bit, but I do want the proportions to look accurate. And then I will go on to create other features of the face, like the eyes, nose, and the lips, and also create the hair and her clothing. And at this point, I thought my sketch was looking pretty good. I was very confident that I can move forward with it, but then I flipped it. And I don't know what happened, but the proportions were kind of messed up. One of the eyes were smaller than the other, the mouth and the chin was facing to one side, and I completely would have missed it if I didn't flip my canvas, and that's exactly why you should flip your canvas. Flipping your canvas could give you a completely different perspective on your sketch, on your paintings. It will reveal the flaws that you were not seeing before. So flip your canvas immediately after you are done with the sketch. And if you're drawing traditionally, then hold your drawing or painting in front of a mirror and it will do the same thing. Okay, so I fixed the face, I fixed the proportion issues, and now I am ready to move forward with coloring. The first thing that I'm going to paint is the background, but I am going to establish the values and the colors of the background. And the reason why you should paint the background first is because it will give you a better idea about the colors and the value on your subject. And remember that these are not rules, these are basically suggestions. In the end of the day, you can do whatever you like, but it is normally believed that you should not be painting on white backgrounds because the chances of messing up your values and your colors are much higher when you're painting on a white background. And then I will start filling in the base color of the subject. I normally use the mid value as the base color, and mid value basically means the value between the light and the shadow. But you can do whatever you want. You can use the shadow color as your base or even the light color as your base. It's a personal preference, but I would suggest that you use mid value because it makes things easier. And then I will start blocking in the shadows. And to create my shadows, I pick up the base color, I go darker, I go more saturated, and I shift the value towards the red. Now, why towards the red? Well, naturally, the shadows on your skin will go towards the red because of subsurface scattering. And subsurface scattering basically means that light will enter your skin and will be reflected back, which will create a reddish glow on your skin. And that's why the shadows on human skin saturate towards the red. So I'm just looking at the reference and creating my shadow shapes. And I'm also going to create the color variation on the skin, which I think I should have done earlier. Well, human skin is not a single color. The human face can be divided into 3 color zones. The forehead will be yellow, the cheek and the nose will be reddish, and the area around the mouth will be greenish. Now remember that not every shadow shape is going to have the same value. For example, the cheek on the left side will have a darker shadow than the cheek on the right side. And that happens because of the angle at which the light is hitting the face. And in this case, the light is a bit towards the right. So the right side of the face is a bit brighter. And now I'm going to blend the edges. And I'm going to be very strategic about it. I'm not going to blend everything. I want some of the hard edges to remain because of the stylistic choice. I think that it makes the painting look more interesting and more stylistic. And then I will start painting in the lights. And the way I do it is basically I put in the light colors on the area where the light is hitting and then use a hard edge brush to carve in the light shape. And once I'm done, I will bend the lights to create a transition from the light to the shadow. And one advice that I would like to give you is don't just blend the light and shadow together. Instead, use a transition color between the light and the shadow and then blend. Now what's a transition color? Well, basically on a human face, when light turns to shadow, the area between the light and shadow will be warmer, and that color is what you call the transition color. And that basically happens because of subsurface scattering. And how do you select that color? Well, you basically just select your mid value and saturate it a bit and also make it just a bit brighter. Or you can apply that color with a soft brush to create the transition. And once I'm happy with everything, I will start painting in the smaller details. So I will start with painting the eyes first. So one thing that you need to remember about the eyes is that the white part of the eyes or the sclera is off-white. They are never going to be purely white. And remember that the eyes are actually spherical in shape, so paint the eyes the same way you would paint a sphere. And I don't think that painting a sphere should be that difficult. And never paint every single strand while painting your eyelashes or any kind of hair. Just create the basic shape of the eyelashes and paint in a few individual hairs to show that it's hair. And then I'll start detailing the hair. And the whole reason why I chose this reference is because there's not much detail in the hair. There's only highlights and some hair strands. And you might say it's kind of lazy, but I think it's smart. And then I'll move on to detailing the lips. And if you think that painting lips is too difficult for you, then just go and practice painting cylinders. The lips are basically cylindrical in shape, so if you can paint a cylinder, you should be able to paint a lip. The upper lip is going to be in shadow because the light is coming from above, and the upper lip kind of points downwards. And one important area around the lips is the shadow below the lip. Now our lips protrude outwards, and that shadow is a good way of showing that our lips protrude outwards. It's basically a cast shadow that is cast there because the lip is blocking the light from reaching there. Now in the end, I would add the highlights. Now it's not important that you add the highlights at the end, but for the sake of this video, I am adding the highlights on the end. And the thing about highlights is that they should be treated like an icing on the cake and not the cake itself, because many beginners like to overuse highlight to show form, and highlights is their sole thing to show form, but that is not the right way of doing it. So to show form, first create the lights and the shadow, and then use highlights as that cherry on the top. So the tutorial part of this video is done, but I will still take some more time finishing and improving on this painting, and I will tell you what I did once I'm done. This is my finished painting here, and I think it looks pretty good. So let me show you what I did. So basically I added some details on this painting, like the freckles and some hair detail, and also made this painting a little better, improved on some parts and did some touch up here and there. And then on top of it, I created this layer. The leaves are falling. Leaves are cherry blossoms. I don't know what they are, but they are something. And what it does is basically it creates depth. Without it, it looks fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but with it, I think it looks better. Gives us this nice foreground, midground, and background. And I also rendered the background and blurred it. And then I merged it all into a new layer. And how you actually merge everything on a new layer? Well, you select all the layers that you want to merge and press Ctrl plus Alt plus E, and it will create this merged layer. And then on top of this layer, I created this color filter. Well, basically, I went to image adjustment, and in color lookup, I just chose one of these. You can choose whatever you want. And after choosing, I just reduced the opacity. And I merged everything again with the background, and then created this layer, merged layer. And then on top of it, I created this blur layer. So here I'm blurring all the unnecessary parts that I don't want the focus of the viewer to go. This is the focus, this is the most important part, but this is where I want the viewer to look. So I blurred the areas where I don't want people to look. And then on top of it, I basically selected the brush and turned on color dodge mode from here, and painted the highlights on the hair a bit blue and the highlights on the face a bit yellow to create this effect. And then on top of it, I added this picture. Basically, I added a picture, I reduced the opacity, and I set it to screen, and also blurred it a little. And what it does is basically it creates this particle effect as if there's dust in the atmosphere. And then on top, I added this screen layer and created the bloom effect. It's very subtle, but it's there. And then I signed it. And that's it. That's how I create my portraits. And I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.